All right, so here we are, part two. Left you off, we were in polygon mode. Let's take a look here, what else we can do with that. Some of these other options here, as I walk you through them, is outline, which to me is really no different than just using scale. You can scale that up and down. I don't really see a whole lot of anything useful about that because I can get to that using my other options here. But that is something that you can do. Um, Now, something else we can do is hinge from edge, which is kind of a fun thing because you can take that, you can say, all right, I want to hinge that polygon, and I want to um, choose this thing, and I want to um, tell it what do I want it to do? I want it to kind of move around, and this particular one is not going to be a good one to work with. So let's see if I can create the hinge here. All right, so I got one here. You can kind of see how it's hinged on that particular poly there. So I can take this back if I wanted to, and these back as well. Say I don't really like the way that looked. I can take that and hinge from the edge here and say what kind of angle I want it to hinge from. Could tell it, how many vertices or how many edge faces do I want it to have on that. So you can kind of tell it different ways to work. You can do the same thing for, I think that option is open for, no, it's not. Never mind, I lied. I thought it was open for edge as well, but that is not true. So one thing I wanted to show you is with Vertex again. What we can do with these is let's take a vertex and let's say I want to just remove a vertex. Boom. All right. So now I've just created a bigger space that I can now go into with a poly and alter this how I want to. So I can take that and stretch it up. I can extrude it, inset, do whatever I want with it on different levels now. So very customizable how you want to work with these things. Let's say I wanted to do, there's one here called Weld. So let's take a look at this. If I do that and hit Weld, nothing happens. You need to have two vertices selected to work with Weld. If I select it now, nothing happens. If I go into settings and I go up here to crank that up, there's only two things that can happen here. It's either going to stay put or eventually it's going to snap together. So I've welded those two together in the middle, kind of meeting point there. Other things you can do is do what's called a target weld with a vertex. And so I can take this guy right here and weld him to this one over here, just moving one all the way to the other. So I can do a target weld, select this one that I want to move, say I want you there, and now it moved that, and it also takes along with it the edge faces that go along with it. So, and it also gives you different shaped polys here. So there's different things that you can do with that. Let's look at, so let's say, hey, I want to do this on edge mode. I want to add a vertex here. I want to add a vertex here. I want to add a vertex here. Get out of that. I want to go back into vertex mode. I want to take this guy and I want it to weld to this one. Okay, if you have a specific point that you want to move it to, you can do that. So it can be pretty handy. And we talked about break with the vertex, so I'm not going to do that again. Think about what we can do here. We can weld and we can target weld edge faces as well. Did the bridging on that with borders. We did border and the bridging with border as well. So there's not really a whole lot we can do here. Oh, if you say, hey, I want this right here to be, I want this, I don't want that anymore. So I want, or you create a hole, or you have an empty part of your geometry that you don't want anymore. And you take this border and you want to do something with it. Let's say you want to, you can't bridge it. You can't do anything like that. You can insert a vertex on your border. If you wanted to do something like this, that would work. Chamfering your border is kind of weird, but it gives you some different effects that you can do if you wanted to add a lot of edge lines around a specific opening. That might work out for you. Another thing you can do is with a border selected, you can cap it. So if you have any kind of hole that you want capped, you can just go to cap and it will fill that hole for you. So that's something that you can do on a border subselection. Other things we can do is with different types of selections, we can go to edge again, and let's select this guy right here, right? I can go to ring, and you see it's going to take a ring around that particular area and select all of those edge faces. So if I selected this one over here and went to ring, it goes all the way around that all those segments around that shape right there. Now, if I went to select this one and go to loop, let's take a look around. I'm not picking the right ones that I need here. These are the ones that I need. So I got a loop, and when I do that, it just selects the vertical ones around that, or it's not, they're all vertical, but that wrap around in a loop around that particular part of the object. So if I select this one here and do loop, nothing's going to happen because it ends. So if I select this and do loop, you can see it selects all the way around. I can then take that and do something else with it, if I wanted to. So you can customize those based on loops and rings. Let's look at element here because this is a little different. This will affect the whole thing. You can insert vertex wherever you want and say, I want vertex there, I want vertex there, wherever I want to add a vertex. This opens up the whole object. It can be a little bit overwhelming because there's a lot of things that you can do. You can flip the geometry inside out if you wanted to. So if I do that, now I'm left with the black sides, which means on the inside, it's kind of weird. And this happens sometimes. You notice, hey, when I just laid an object, why is it now turning black in some parts? Well, because it's most likely flipped inside out. So if I go here and delete that, basically I'm seeing the outside on the in, or vice versa, whatever. So you kind of get what I'm talking about. I'm going to take that selection now and flip it again back to normal so I can see everything. All right, so trying to think of what else we can talk about here. We broke, we removed, we extruded, we welded, target welded. We can get into chamfering actual vertices if you wanted to. You can chamfer vertices and kind of cut a corner, which is kind of cool. Might be something that's worthwhile if you need to do that. Kind of gives a cut off look to your shapes. So that's an option for you. I'm trying to look at here. Split, remove, weld, bridge. We've done that. Connecting them. I think that is it. I think I've run this dry. So let's stop and let's do something with all these things now. We've got this crazy little object here that we've just made. Who knows what yours looks like? Go crazy with it. See what else you can do with this. Because our next project or next build is going to be something a little bit retro. And I want you to try to get by with just using these tools to make it happen. So here we go.